All right, so the Detroit Lions just had a terrible week filled with terrible news all week long, as what it seemed like, they were getting a key veteran player back out of Frank Ragnow coming out of retirement. Little did we know that would be the end of the good news the Lions were getting for the week, as since then, obviously Amon-Ra St. Brown, Lions' top receiver, went down with an ankle injury in the Thanksgiving game against the Packers. Then obviously the Lions went on to lose that game against the Packers, moving their record to 7-5. Then it was announced over the weekend that Frank Ragnow failed his physical and won't be returning to the team. Then the Lions had safety Kerby Joseph sending out some concerning social media messages. Then he went on to delete his social media accounts. And then earlier this week, it was announced that Terrion Arnold season would be over due to shoulder surgery. So it was quite a terrible week for Lions fans, filled with terrible news. And right now, going into this Thursday night matchup for the Lions against the Cowboys, they have got to win this game. They are 7-5. Their playoff hopes are still alive, but a loss to the Cowboys would put the playoff hopes for the Lions in major jeopardy. So it's going to be a huge game for the Lions, and they may even be without their star wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown. Won't be getting Frank Ragnow back as he didn't pass his physical, and then Kerby Joseph is still hurt, and Terrion Arnold is done for the season. So Lions are facing some adversity here in December when they need it most. Now I do want to go over some updates here on first Kerby Joseph, as he appears to just be really dealing with a bad nagging knee injury here this whole season. He returned to practice this week, but then he was also downgraded to no practice after returning to practice for the first time in over a month. Dan Campbell said Tuesday that it was his first time to go out there. He's been rehabbing, he's been doing things on the side, but that's kind of his first being around it in the individual drills. And sometimes you're always going to hope for a little bit more than the first time you get back on the turf, but that doesn't mean this is a setback. He's been busting his tail to get back. You just continue to treat it, try to eliminate the pain or limit most of the pain to where he feels like he can produce. So Kerby Joseph looking more and more doubtful that he plays this week against the Cowboys. Don't know when he will return, but he does plan on returning at some point this season. Many have questioned if this injury will affect his entire career. Now, a report from NFL insider Jordan Schultz said that he's been dealing with a nagging knee injury, which has kept him out of the lineup, but he intends to return to the field this season, and this injury is not considered career altering, and Joseph will likely seek treatment for the knee in the offseason, but he plans to be on the field in the coming weeks. So we'll see what happens. That is the latest update on Kerby Joseph, though, and you just hope he can get back out there, and hopefully this nagging knee injury isn't career altering. As far as Amon-Ra St. Brown ahead of the Cowboys game, I doubt he plays, although there's still a chance. Campbell said he's better. He's better, that's the best way to say it, but I don't see him practicing today, but he is better, so I know this: if he can play, he'll play. That's the best way to say it. So St. Brown said that it'll basically likely go down to a game day decision this week, but he said, I'm not sure right now. If I'm being honest, it's still up in the air. Trying to be out there for the guys, for my teammates, but I couldn't answer that question right now. So he was a no practice on Tuesday. Same thing with Khalif Raymond and also tight end Brock Wright. Lions already without Sam Laporta. He's done for the season. However, the Lions did claim a tight end off of waivers, as on Monday they picked up Hayden Rucci from waivers after the Miami Dolphins waived him on Saturday, and he does take up the roster spot left vacant after the Lions placed Terrion Arnold on injured reserve. So Lions need some help at tight end. Seems to be a good move. Rucci went undrafted in 2024, spent the last season and a half on and off the Dolphins roster. In college, he was a 2-year starter for Wisconsin. So Lions are very short-handed at the tight end position, and they pick up Hayden Rucci. Hasn't produced too much at the NFL level. However, he may get his chance now with the Lions. Lions do have tight end Shane Zylstra. He has been dealing with an ankle injury returned from a week 2 ankle injury, now is being listed with a knee injury though. So, and also worth mentioning, Lions added wide receiver Andrew Armstrong and cut veteran offensive lineman Netani Muti. Armstrong is in his rookie season after going undrafted. Did join the Miami Dolphins, then was cut at the start of the regular season. Interesting enough, he is or was the teammate of Lions wide receiver Isaac TeSlaa at Arkansas, and he actually led the team with 78 catches and 1,140 yards. He's a 6'3", 200-pound wide receiver. So that is some news right there for the Detroit Lions. Probably the biggest one is the Lions claiming tight end Hayden Rucci from waivers, and Lions tight end room needs some depth right now. But the 7-5 Detroit Lions got a big one tomorrow against the Cowboys. Kind of feels like a must-win game here for the Lions if they want to keep their playoff hopes alive. So it's going to be a big one. Could be without some key players, especially wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown, although thankfully his injury doesn't seem to be long term. But with that, that's going to wrap up this video. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, make sure to go ahead, drop a like, comment down below, and subscribe for more if you are new around here. I greatly appreciate it. And other than that, we will see you guys in the next video.